Hello and welcome to episode 21 of Talking Baldocks. Uh, I always forget how we introduce it now,
You
but
just say with you, Neil Baldock, and this is my brother, and I go, "Hey, I'm Matt Baldock."
that's it. So that's who we are. I'm Neil Baldock. That's Matt Baldock. This is Talking Baldocks, and we're getting back into the swing of getting these podcasts back out there.
I don't know what's happened to Zoom, but mine does this thing now. If I lean in it, the camera kind of goes back, and if I lean back, the camera zooms in. So I'm feeling a bit seasick because I'm moving.
No, I haven't got that. But do you remember our good friend Ben Madden had that on his once when we had a meeting with him, and
As I swam from side to side.
it made us go a little bit dizzy. So, but no, I haven't. I've not got it.
No,
I,
you're okay. Fine.
I'm
Well, look, if you're watching this on YouTube, apologies for that. I'll try and sit still, but invariably I can't. So in the last week's episode, we did say we were going to talk about costs of sale and going through all the numbers and that kind of stuff. But we're actually going to put that back for a week because I thought while we're still in January, um, my LinkedIn is full of people really excitedly announcing that they've started their own businesses or they've gone self-employed as most of them do. We can discuss the semantics of that in a bit. And as ourselves, with our model, we help people become business owners. We're launching a new chap, Michael Edwards, over in Essex this year. So I just thought, mate, I would like to talk about what I think are three key kind of mistakes that I see people make as soon as they go self-employed, and what we've learned from that from the people that we've helped, and obviously our own experiences as well, and try and save some people a little bit of pain at this kind of exciting time of their life. How's that sound with
ab-
you?
absolutely, yeah. Let's get into it.
Fine. So the first one I see, so you can see the kind of the pattern when people about to do it. So first of all, post comes up saying, after 7 years, I'm leaving ex estate agents. Want to thank them for all the wonderful memories. It's the best time of my life. And you think, well, it wasn't that fucking great, otherwise you wouldn't be leaving. But fine. And they're like, can't wait to announce the next chapter. So you go, okay, we know where it's coming. Then 2 days later, it's hurrah. I'm launching, Dave Smith Estates under whatever banner. I'll be offering a personal bespoke service. And then this is the killer line. They say, I'm going to be available 24/7.
Mm,
My mobile is always on.
yeah,
Um,
I saw. Funny enough, I saw, and it's an agent I actually really respect, but it was more the brand that had. Well, I don't know if it was the brand or him, but it was branded up as the brand and he'd put it out, but it just said always open. And I thought, well, that's not a great idea because when do you have some rest?
yeah, exactly. Sorry, you can see I've got my zip stuck here trying to undo it. So, I mean, look, there's a couple of things. Number one, it's just bullshit, right? You're not answering your phone at 4 o'clock in the morning.
No, exactly.
Okay, so 24/7 doesn't actually exist. But number two, and the kind of the bigger issue for me is a lot of people, the reason they go, as I say, for want of a better word, self-employed, is that they're told about this thing called work-life balance, which doesn't actually really exist. But and they're picking up they're kind of they're groomed into, you can pick up the kids from school, you can do this, you can do that. And there's a couple of bits of it. Well, number one, when you very first launch a business, I would suggest you should probably have less time than you do when you're working for somebody because you really want to get it going. But number two, what is the point of saying, well, I'm gonna leave, my job, I'm gonna take this risk to start my own business, to have all this free time, and then tell people that you're available to answer the phone to them 24 hours a day. Your time is actually your most valuable asset. It's the one thing you can't ever get back, and it's one thing you need to protect. And it's the one thing that you have to spend really wisely. If you make a mistake spending a few pound notes on some form of advertising, you can earn some more money and try something else. But if you misspend your time, you can't ever get that back.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, yeah, it's a bit of a contradiction in terms of the whole work-life balance and that sort of thing. I think the better way of people terming it is a flexible work day, which means they can drop the excuse me, maybe they can drop the children at school, maybe they can go down the gym in the middle of the day, maybe they can be on the golf course networking and playing some golf and enjoying themselves, but as long as they're then going to go home and maybe do the work in the evenings or do the work early in the morning. So the work's still got to get done. So I think a flexible work life is more kind of
What's the phrase I use?
don't know what is it.
Never listen to any of
Don't
my
listen to
stuff.
you.
I know you don't. It's terrible. Work-life synergy.
Oh yeah, you like the work-life synergy, yeah,
Work-life
yeah,
synergy. But yeah, I agree with you. But I do think number one, listen, let's put the cards on the table. When you're launching your own business, be it under a self-employed model, be it a high street agency, when we first launched this business, we didn't have days off. You don't have that. You have to work. So the people you see out there now doing really well under self-employed world, they're earning a lot of money and they might look like they're working less. Number one, I don't think they are. But number two, it's because they've really put the groundwork in. They've built a business. With some models, they've recruited really well. So they've got people giving them their residual income that way, or they've built a team.
yeah,
So if you say, oh, well, that person's he's always at events, well, yeah, that's because he's done the groundwork, and you never see that bit. You just see them when they're kind of at the forefront.
yeah, definitely, yeah, yeah. I mean, when I first started my first lettings business, I was in the police, wasn't I?
Yeah,
I was doing 12-hour shifts a day, sometimes 18-hour shifts a day, and then still had a business running in the background. So, but no one now, where people see me having this bit more of a flexible lifestyle, no one saw that. No one saw that, and there's not that many people that are willing to do that either. And that's the other thing to say, I think, is that you've got to be a certain type of person and have a certain willingness to make it succeed and kind of do whatever it takes to get there.
100%, mate. I still get, because I'm at the opening of a paper bag, really, aren't I? So any event kind of going, you'll generally find me there. People say, you always hit, but I used to do 13 days straight, so I only used to have every other Sunday off.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
that's it.
and that's the bit. So I mean, that isn't quite what I wanted. This is the big mistake, but I can have that as another misnomer as such. Starting your own business isn't an Instagram post a day at a coffee shop. You've really got to put the work in.
Yeah, we'll
But
come back to that. But yeah, because you were talking about obviously the being available 24/7 and
24/7. So
never
that's the bit. I said,
closing.
don't be. And also, if you are for some reason the kind of unless you're dealing with, I guess, ultra high net worth individuals that live in different countries and time zones, but most of the agents we work with are what we would call mid-market agents, or certainly dealing with UK customers. Um, if you've got a customer that wants you to be available at 11 o'clock at night, let alone 4 in the morning, they're going to be a pain in the ass customer.
Yeah, and I was going to say like we haven't ever, in the whole time we've been running this business, had anybody demand um, that they need to be able to get hold of us in the evening, ever.
No,
Um, I told you the other day I took a call with a client at 10 o'clock at night, and my son came in and said to me, "Dad, why are you speaking to a client at 10 o'clock at night?" And the reason was because they're giving us 150. We've already got a load of their properties. They're giving us 150 properties in a new area. But the reason he didn't demand to have a call with me at 10 o'clock at night, I'd sent him an email at 10 o'clock at night, and he just happened to see it and respond, "Are you available for a quick chat?" And I could have said, "No, actually, I'm not." But I wanted to get what we were doing without the way, so I chose to have that call. But I've never gone and told any of those people that I'm available 24/7. Um, and I think like, yeah, you've just got like even we've got clients with our mobile numbers, which I don't give many clients my mobile number anymore, but we've got some long term clients that have. But I don't have to like answer the call if it's at a time that I don't want to answer the call or it's inconvenient for me. Um, you don't have to be like on this beck and call to your clients because that's not a healthy working relationship.
no, exactly. And I mean, it's interesting. We talk about calls and things, but emails are the kind of devil for a lot of agents, right? So many people are slaves to their emails. Mine, I don't actually have notifications come through. So if I could look at my phone now, I wouldn't know if I had emails or not. I have to
Mm.
open the app. And I think it was during lockdown or after I developed this thing, I'd stop checking them after 6 o'clock. But when I'm working with agents and they're saying, emails are kind of killing them, I always say to people, if you reply to somebody at 9 o'clock at night, it's your fault that they then start emailing you back at 9 o'clock at night every time because you've kind of said to them, this is when I'm responding.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Same with WhatsApp. I will happily have somebody WhatsApp me at 8, 9, probably realistically after 7, say, but anyway, of an evening. I'll read the WhatsApp. I've got my blue ticks on. They'll see I've read it, and then I'll respond the next morning. Because to a certain extent, you've got to train your clients. It's a bit like training your kids. you've got to kind of say, yep, you've messaged me. Yes, I've read it, but I'm not responding until this time in the morning. Now, funny enough, I was on the phone to somebody at I think 7:30 last night because we've got a sale that's a bit shaky, and I wanted to obviously do what I could to save it. But you can what the way I explain it is set the rules and you break them for the people you want to break them for. You don't let other people break your rules. So
Mm.
my rules are I'm going to communicate you within these hours. There are certain clients, and as you've got certain clients of yours that we will break those rules for. But on the whole, it's for me to break the rules, not for clients to break my rules.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the important thing, because just we're talking about obviously directing this at people that are starting their business journey, is it's not an instruction winner either.
No.
So, and that's what I think we're going to get onto is we see a lot of agents launching their business and doing certain things that make them feel good, like posting and saying, I'm open 24/7, but that does nothing to attract instructions towards you. So do you know what I mean? We've never won an instruction, I don't believe, by saying we're open 24/7 or by putting out a social media post saying that is not contacting a vendor, that is not prospecting, that is not any action that is taking you towards getting an instruction. Um, so if you're already getting instructions and you decide to start posting that stuff, fine. But your first action or one of your first actions to lead you towards getting some instructions should not be saying I'm open 24/7.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Fine. Okay. I think we've covered that one off a bit. So my second thing is cheap fee promotions, either on the launch. So you've got some people that will do, I'm open, launching my business, I'm doing a cheap fee promotion. Or the other thing I've seen is people online saying, well, I'm not paying for I can be cheaper than my competitors because they're paying for high street offices. It's
Mm.
interesting because a lot of again the self-employed agents are now opening high street offices, but there was a time when that was the big thing. It was like they've got an office they've got to pay for. I don't have to, so I can be cheaper. Um, and that's just something I wouldn't ever encourage anybody to lead with cheap. Unless that's going to be your long term business model. I mean, we've seen how it's worked for some of the big players. But yeah, don't lead with cheap.
Yeah, yeah. So there's two things on that. One is, yeah, it is a model. So you can go cheap fees, high volume, but that's kind of contradictory to going self-employed or starting your own business. Is like you're not meant to be aiming for high volume. You're meant to be aiming for a lower volume and with some profit and a quality business. Um, so yeah, if you're going to chase the volume, that is a model, but it's kind of contradicting probably all the things you said are the reasons you're leaving the employment and trying to go and set up your business. And the other thing is, we can give a very real life example of when we first started out and newspapers were still a thing. We had a half a page advert in the Chelmsford Weekly News advertising 0.5%, and we got zero phone calls or instructions from it. And all of our business was coming from our own efforts and our own recommendations and our own direct mail, etc., etc. And I clearly remember the chap saying to one or both of us, "Yep, love to work with you. I got recommended by my next door neighbour, and we thought, right, fantastic. Our fees, whatever it was at the time, 1.5%. And he said, "Well, I've just got this paper here. It says you charge 0.5%." And so we vowed after that to never ever put a fee deal. We never advertise our fees again. And but the point is, advertising again, it's not really an instruction winner. Like people don't tend to see if you put an advert out with any fee offer. I very much doubt your phone is going to start ringing. It doesn't tend to. That's not the thing people are looking out for.
No, yeah, 100%. So, and as I say, we're happy to say we've made the mistakes, right? We want people to learn from the mistakes that we've made. So it's interesting on that point five deal. I've still got a screenshot of it. I actually put it out on my Facebook post as well. We need new instructions in January, whatever it was, doing 0.5%. And I got one comment, and it was from an old area manager of mine, a chap called Paul Gray, who's now managing director of his own company, really, really good agent. And he just commented, "You're better than that, Matt." And like, oh, my heart kind of sunk because I really respected this guy. And I was like, Yeah, I am better than that as well, but I've actually saved it and I've got it to, not that we ever go down to those levels, but it just kind of reminds me and keeps me going there. And the other thing is there's a couple of more practical reasons I don't think it should be done. Unless you're looking to make it your long-term model, as you say, which most agents aren't, it's difficult to recover from because
Very
you
much.
have a reputation for doing that. And especially if, and it does seem the way the world's going, we're trying to get into like more micro audiences. We've got people being agents really within a very small radius of their towns. Everybody's going to talk. So
Mm.
all of a sudden, you're in Linda's living room and you're saying, "Yeah, Linda, it's 1.5%," and she's saying, "Well, hang on a minute, my friend Diane, as you said earlier, the example we had, you did hers for 0.75 or you did it for this, or you did that, and then you then have that moral conflict because are you who you stri was it really a discount, or are you striping these people up by charging more? And you've then got to try and remember who you told what, and you've got three or four people down the local pub all saying different fees, which isn't good. And the other thing, and probably the more important one, aside from the recovery fees, cheap fees tend to attract arsehole clients.
Yes, they do. Yeah,
Um,
if people don't see the value in what you're doing, they tend to, well, yeah, they don't see the value in what you're doing. So then they're quite demanding. They don't understand the value you're bringing. They are a pain in the backside.
Yeah, and they're going to be, as you say, they're going to be more demanding. You're going to end up doing more work, which means you don't have the time or the capacity to go and market yourself to get the people that are going to pay you the proper fee. You end up going to do more work, less fee. And mate, we've been there before, but how much of it is it an anticlimax? Is it? It both actually you just more, sorry, in your heart, but also for the bank account. When you do all this work and you invoice the solicitor, and it's this pittance of a fee. Do you know what I mean? You've worked 4 or 5 months, and you're kind of invoicing 2 grand.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. And it's just it's also unsustainable, and it will lead you to give that client a bad service as you get busier. Because if you do get busier and all your fees are low, you then don't have any margin to employ an assistant, employ team members, um, and things that make your life easier and enable you to grow your business and still deliver a service. So you will burn out very quickly. So, if people do a special deal to get an instruction or whatever, that you can't really criticize that because people have got to get started. But certainly going out advertising it or making it your business model, you will find you once you've got four, five, six clients and none of them are paying the right amount of money, all of a sudden you're busy and you will start resenting it. That is the truth of it. You will
Yeah.
start resenting doing that work for them. And as a human, once you start resenting something, it's very hard to work through that. So you will still think, well, I've made a commitment, I've got to deliver. And if you're a decent human being, you'll still deliver that service. But there will be something in you that is finding that very hard. And you might, you might cut a corner here or there because you're like, well, I'm not earning any money out of it.
No, especially if the sale falls through. How bad is a fall through when when you've got to do all the work again and there's no money in it?
Yeah. So,
So
yeah, leading with fees is not. It's just not a. It's actually not what this like our clients. The clients we're all looking for, vendors, and landlords actually, but they're not buying. They're not. Their first thing is not how much is your fee. Obviously, we all have the phone call where someone rings up and says, "Oh, we're just checking what you're charging," and you either know how to handle that or you don't, and you choose whether to work with them or you don't. But that's the minority. There's actually most of the valuations we book, we don't even have a discussion about the fee until our value is in their front room.
no, exactly. Can I just really segue into something completely not what we're talking about, just on something you've just said?
Yeah,
Uh, About that phone call when someone says, "Hi, can you let me know what your fee is?" Because I've noticed this thing again on LinkedIn recently where it's almost this badge of honor where people are going, somebody wanted a cheap fee and I told them to piss off, I know my value, which is great. You shouldn't work with people that don't want to pay you money. But also, not everybody who asks what the fee is asking for it to be cheap. So I think
yeah,
Stephen Brown in his training says if someone phones you and says, "Hey, can you let me know your fee?" What they're actually saying is, "I've got a house to sell," right?
yeah,
But also, some people just want to ask. Like, you probably don't go to a restaurant without having a quick look at the menu and seeing what's on it. but also it's just they don't necessarily want to negotiate. They just feel that's what you do because we live in our economy. You do barter estate agents fees. That just seems to be the kind of given. But I mean, I've been on about before. I present the fee and say, look, just so there's no confusion, we don't negotiate on that. And I've had someone, all you could see the stress lift off his shoulders and him go, thank God for that. I was really like worried about negotiating because the public aren't negotiators. They don't want to do it. So yes, hold your fee. Yes, don't disinstruct clients or don't choose clients that don't want to pay you. But if someone just says, "Can you tell me what the fee is?" That doesn't necessarily mean they're cheap. And I think there's some agents out there kind of going, "Oh, you've asked for the fee. You're not my client. Piss
Mm.
off." It's not always the case. So just be a bit careful on that one, is what I would say. But getting back to it, so my third thing that I think is a big mistake I see people in the early starts of their careers, and I say this with a certain amount of irony as we're on a podcast hoping people will learn from us, but it is learning and not earning, or as I put it, and also procrastinating, talking about things, getting everything, perfect. Oh, this has to be perfect, that has to be perfect. I meet some agents at the events I go to, and they're very early in their business careers. I think, God, you're here. I've seen you at three different events, but I actually haven't seen you list a house.
Yeah.
Or they'll listen to every podcast going. They'll tell me they've read this book, and I'm like, well, how many customers have you spoken to? Oh no, I haven't got any yet. And it's all just fucking get out there and actually do something.
Yeah. Well, it's taking the right actions, and I think that's the problem with looking at other people. It's okay to look at other people's success, but like we said earlier, you've got to kind of appreciate what they've been through to get there. But also, if they've had that level of success, they've probably got a system of consistent actions that they take to get there. And those consistent actions won't be the sexy stuff. They won't be the podcast. They won't be the social media video. I mean, making those social media videos will be one of those constant actions. But what I mean is, it won't be the shiny, flashy stuff that has got people customers. And I think a lot of agents are probably being attracted into models because of the social media presence they're seeing from other agents and then not doing the basic actions that need to take place in any estate agency business. Because those actions haven't changed since before we had social media, like canvassing, direct mail, prospecting calls, actual business generation. That was happening 20 years ago before we'd even heard of Facebook. Just because we've got Facebook and Instagram and everything else doesn't mean those things should stop. It just means we now add in social media as well. So do you see what I mean? Like people are just concentrating on the good looking stuff, but they need to do it all. And it needs to be stuff that's actually leading you towards getting an instruction.
Yeah, 100%. And listen, I'm not saying don't learn, don't listen, don't, waste, I'm like 20, I think I'm 25 years in now in agency, but I still learn stuff every day. Vicky Barberis, obviously fantastic agent. One of my favorite quotes I've heard, she said, learn as if you're never going to die. And I think that is correct. But I can guarantee you, Vicky learns more than most, but she also works as hard as most. And her team do that. They don't just sit there listening to podcasts every day and saying, one day I'll speak to a customer.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. So learn, if you, yes, learn something, but then go and put it actually into action and make mistakes. Go, just everything's an experiment, right? Try different things, try 10 things, seven of them won't work. Fine, nothing's happened. You haven't killed anybody. You can't kill somebody with a badly worded tout letter. But if three things do work, then fine, I can double down on them, and that's where I'm going. But I think we live in an age, it's almost like there's too much choice out there. And this is the other thing to point out. It is impossible to listen to every podcast and read every book in the world. You just will never do it. So you might as well choose a couple that you think, right, well, I
Mm.
like what they've said. I'm now going to go and put that into action and see what happens.
Yeah, yeah. And just start soaking up that information, but putting some stuff into action. I
Yeah.
think that's the big thing about it for me is it's about the consistent actions, not showing off to the world and saying I've got this or look what I've done. It is about actually, and that's where we've got this thing with agents becoming self-employed and then instantly recruiting people before they've even built a successful business themselves. And we do have a bit of a problem with that, I think. But sort of speaking openly is like I don't have a problem with the way agents are recruiting because I think it's a clever model. I do have a problem with agents literally signing up and then going, "Oh, does anybody else want? This is fantastic. Does anyone else want to join me?" And it's like, well, you don't know if it's fantastic yet because you haven't actually got a business. You haven't actually done anything. So maybe. And I'll tell you a classic example of who's done this really well is Tony Ruby. Tony, very successful, but he didn't start recruiting agents till I think he's probably been self-employed 3 or 4 years now. And he absolutely built his business, cracked it before he even started mentioning to like saying to agents, "Do you want to join?"
Yeah.
Um, and that, and this just being blunt, we've done the same. We've built a seven-figure estate agency. We employ people, and now we're rolling out our own models. But do you know what I mean? We've built something ourselves before we've gone and made that kind of step. And I think that's just what agents need to concentrate on is join and get your business successful before you start getting distracted with the rest of it.
Yeah, no, and you will only be successful. Yes, as I say, you need knowledge, but you'll be successful by taking action.
Yeah.
Um, and done beats perfect in most things. So, if you don't think your template is quite up to scratch, you're not sure of that, or you're not sure how that looks. Video is the key one I want to say to people. You'll never make a perfect video. And actually, the public don't want to see perfect. The public do not want some polished, smarmy salesperson. They want someone who is real and they can relate to. And real people do stutter a bit and swear like I'm just doing right now. And so do the
Yeah.
video, but don't worry about it perfect. Literally, just do one takes, no retakes. If you stumble about a bit, you stumble about a bit. Put it out, keep going. And your proof of how you can do things it comes from your action. Alex Ramosi says that, but in a much better way than I just have. But basically, the more you do things, the more confident you'll be at doing them. Your
Yeah.
confidence will grow by doing, not by reading.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, the thing is, the reality is when you start a business, you can actually, even in today's day and age, certainly in a state agency business, but I would probably challenge, unless it's an e-commerce business, you would definitely need a website. But you can start any business today without a website, without a business card, without social media, without anything. If you're willing to pick up one of these, that's my phone, I'm not sure it's showing up, and start talking to people, because actually that's how you make sales. And sales is what,
You should have closed that web page down before you started waving your screen around.
yeah. But sales comes from conversations
Yeah.
and making sales, not from all the rest of it. We need all the rest of it, and like we're not discouraging anyone from having a website, having social media. We've got all of those things. We've invested a lot into them over the years, but the actual actions and being a salesperson means talking to people, and that's how you make the sales.
100%. Listen, I don't think I like to go more than 5 podcasts in a row without quoting Sam Hunter, 20 conversations and life takes care of itself.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that's what we need to do. Perfect. Good. Well, they were my three, mate. So thank you for agreeing with me, I think. And
Yeah,
your
no, I think so. I think the main, just something I want to cover off is this term self-employed
yes.
and why really it's bullshit. Like,
Why
let's
we
be
don't like
honest.
it.
Why we don't like it, but why it is total and utter bullshit. And it's a marketing thing, so it's not a problem. And I'm not talking badly about anybody who is a self-employed agent. But the reality is, as soon as you do that, you are actually a business owner. So as soon as you stop receiving a wage from from a company and you are now no longer on anybody's payroll, you're you've gone self-employed as such. You've actually started your own business. And I think it's important to recognize that because I think there's agents that go self-employed and don't realize what actually used to come from the employer. And what I mean by that is the employer used to provide the marketing, they used to provide the finance function, the operations, all their systems, everything else. Now, don't get me wrong, you join a model, be it ours, EXP, TAUK, Avocado, they give you some infrastructure. So that's one of the reasons you're joining it. But you're paying for that. If you go out on your own, then you're taking on overheads But the point I'm making, I suppose, is actually it's cheaper to start, and that's what models are selling these days. But you're paying those overheads out at the back end. So it's a good way, obviously, to de-risk and get into it. But the reality is you're running a business and you have overheads, but it's just you don't have the overheads at the start. You're paying a bigger percentage out at the end to cover some of those overheads. So I think people just need to recognise that and recognise that as soon as you're self-employed, you are all of those departments, and you're going to be needing to do your own marketing. You've got to take some risks. You've still got to invest some money and some time to get these things going.
Yeah, because if you don't, because I'm not even sure. I think there are some people that are pure. I think people that are purely self-employed are actually employed, just they have to pay their own wages. I think there's some out there. If you've still got the stresses, you've still got the stresses of getting paid, sorry, going and winning the business. You can't take any holiday, not because your area manager hasn't signed it off, but because you've got nobody to look after the work while you're away. Um, but you've got the responsibility of kind of paying yourself. My thing with if you want to be a true business owner is building something that you can sell at a later date.
Mm,
Okay. And that's why or at least having a vehicle alongside so you can retire and not just a pension. So, for instance, we're big fans of building a lettings book, right? So
yeah,
we would advocate with our agents, you build a lettings book. Yes, we know it's hassle. Don't worry, we do all that for you. You just go and do the fun bit, but you build your own lettings book which you own and you can sell. Okay. Now we've banged that drum for years, and I understand we're not going to convince everyone to do lettings. So the thing I do ask people to really consider is having something. So what are you? So if you're bringing all this money in, great. But if you're earning 10 grand and spending 10 grand, you're going to get to 60 years old and think, fuck, I've got nothing left. So
yeah.
what are you investing in? Be it stocks and shares, be it be it property, something. But just I would urge anyone, if you're going to be a real business owner, number one, at some point the business needs to be able to run itself without you.
Yes.
But number two, at some point you're going to want to exit that business. And so you want a business you can either sell or at least you've got something of value on the side. Because what we don't want to do is have this entire generation of people that have had it away, earning more money than they've ever earned, and they all hit an age and they've got nothing
And
left.
they've
And
got
that'd be
nothing.
really,
Yeah,
really sad.
yeah, yeah. No, definitely. And I think the thing, and that's again why the term self-employment is a bit bullshit because you might start off like that, but we started off like that. It was just me and you, and no team. But if you want to grow anything, you've got to take a team on. So then all of a sudden you are running a business. Do you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. Well,
it's,
I
it's
mean, technically, we're everyone's self-employed if they've got their own
everyone's
business.
self-employed, yeah. But I think you're right. The difference is if you're going to build, and you could make that choice. Some people may, like you say, there probably are some people out there who are self-employed who basically have a job without, and they're just earning more money, but they've got no security. But that's a risky business for me. I think you've got to build something that operates without you. You can grow it to a level where then it does give you a bit more of a flexible lifestyle, the lifestyle you want. And you're quite right. People, if they're not got other businesses that you can sell, then they need to be investing their money wisely.
Good. Brilliant. Okay. Well, look, we'll leave it on that note, I think. Um, if anybody has any questions whatsoever, if genuinely, if you are starting your own journey out, your own business, no matter what model, we want you to do well because we want agents to do well. So we're happy to help anybody. And by the same token, if anybody out there is looking at starting their own business, hasn't and wants to find the right brokerage model to work alongside, me and Neil will happily have a chat with you. Um, so on that, I have been Matt Baldock, he's been,
Neil Baldock,
and we've been talking Bulldogs.
see you next time.
Last word.